Indeed, God gave us the earth to possess, dominate, and inherit every living and non-living thing therein. But another thoughtful problem is that we already know the earth is rapidly being occupied every year, and atmospheric temperature, wildlife dominance, and climate change has posed a severe threat to human life. Hence, humans are kind of frightened to migrate to other unoccupied areas of the earth. Perhaps the primary option is to discover and dominate Mars and hope to live a comfortable life. NASA successfully landed on Mars a few weeks ago. That put some other space companies, especially SpaceX, into a challenge to land on Mars and provide a friendly environment for humans to live by 2050. But because of climate conditions, microorganisms, and animals that dominate Mars, we may be curious enough to ask many questions like how healthy it is for humans to live on Mars. Can humans breathe on Mars? Is there enough water on Mars for humans to survive? Let's find out in this video. Hi, welcome to TechSpace. Today, we will intensively show you the health effects, risks, and conditions experienced by humans living on Mars. Stay tuned to this video because you've got a lot of stuff to learn about the red planet. Before we go ahead to open up everything you need to know about Mars, we have to answer a few questions regarding how healthy it is for humans to live on Mars. NASA revealed that it takes roughly 128 to 333 days to travel a distance of 278.78 million kilometers from the Earth down to Mars, and this is approximately a 5-month journey. Of course, this type of journey will result in fatigue and muscle pain for anyone who wishes to experience it. But let us digress that having spent all these days in space traveling to the red planet. A serious question that should come to our mind is, can humans breathe on Mars? According to NASA, Mars does have an atmosphere, but the air is about 100 times thinner than Earth's atmosphere and contains very little oxygen. Carbon dioxide is the most components of Mars' atmosphere. It was reported that when astronauts landed on Mars, they were not able to breathe outdoors, except a spacesuit with oxygen is worn to work outdoors. So, that is a piece of evidence that human beings cannot breathe on Mars without the oxygen tank. We all know humans need water to wash off the body and take care of much domestic stuff. But we may be curious to know if there may be any trace of water on Mars. According to reports from previous visits, there is water on Mars, but it happens to be frozen under the North and South polar ice caps. The polar ice caps, which were suspected to be made up of only dry ice, are now known to have water beneath the dry ice's top layer. Therefore, it was suggested a long time ago that Mars has many flood and river channels, as a result of the liquid water that flowed on Mars during a time when Mars was a warm and wet planet with a thicker atmosphere. Other findings, but yet to be proven, revealed that there may be also liquid water near the surface of Mars in some areas. Now let's talk about some health deficiencies humans may suffer while living on Mars. One of the sickness any human being residing on Mars could suffer from is space sickness. Space sickness could be a strange sickness that any human can contact having spent at least 2 months on Mars. It is understood that space travel is dangerous, especially when it takes more than 3 months to arrive at the red planet. One will be floating through an airless vacuum in a sealed container. Relating to the physical motions of our body on Earth, some tiny gyroscopes in our brain reminds us of some partial awareness, and they can tell us when we turn our head, accelerate, or change position. But what happens in space is a different ballgame no one will wish to experience, where scenarios like this don't work at a region called the zero-G in space. Astronauts suffer nausea. Many of them usually spend days feeling critically unwell as being seasick. Many cases like this arise when in 1968, NASA launched Apollo 8, and an astronaut named Frank Borman suffered from a lousy bone caused by space sickness on his way to the moon. Just as divers in the sea get sea legs while diving, astronauts develop space legs within about 2 weeks of travel in space. But once they get back to Earth, Many of them have to work hard to bring their Earth leg back. But come to think of it, do we have Earth sickness here on Earth, like the so-called space sickness? Of course, there is nothing like that. Instead, we live our lives here happily and breathe anyhow we like, neither with any oxygen support. Up till this moment, scientific research groups are looking for a possible means to maintain life in this highly hazardous environment, including with the aid of intervention like meditation and positive impact pictures of nature, which will divert astronauts' attention and reduce mental stress. But a good advantage is that mission crew are less emotional towards themselves. For instance, unlike on Earth, where if we get angry with our boss or coworker, the frustration will be taken to the gym, or we burn it out on the run during a workout. Still, in this case, space astronauts can't get angry with each other. Instead, they react quickly, communicate, and work as a team. A positive psychological phenomenon known as the overview effect aids to calm down astronauts' emotions. In fact, most astronauts who had traveled down from space to Earth become more religious and so concerned about God's things. Another health challenge that commonly affects astronauts is weaker muscles. Remember that there is no gravity in the International Space Station, and Mars has 3 times the Earth's gravity. As a result, there is stress on the human body on Mars, since our body is already used to fighting gravitational forces on Earth, so our dear body finds it difficult to battle with the gravitational pull in space, and this results in weaker muscles due to a lot of force created by the muscle during movement in Mars. To ease situations like this, astronauts are mandated to do 2 or 3 exercises every day to maintain muscle mass and cardiovascular fitness. Tight and elastic bodysuits, also known as penguin suits, developed by the Soviet space program, attempt to copy the effects of gravity on the human body. By compressing force on the skin, muscle, and bones, astronauts has to exert more physical pressure to make slight movements. Eye problem is another health threat observed among astronomers. It is a common hazard on the ISS, specks that float around the cabin. Most astronauts end up wearing medicated glass in space. When they come back, some continued having permanent side effects like night blindness, as a result of gravitational pull changes, which deteriorates the flow of fluid shift to the head, building up in the brain's muscles, where it accumulates at the back of the eyeball, causing changes in the shape of the lens. And again, cough and cold is an inevitable sickness in space. On Earth, if you catch a cold, you could stay indoors at home, make yourself comfortable and relaxed. But on Mars, cold is a solid enemy to fight almost every day. Because of the tiny air and low oxygen, astronauts live in a densely packed, vacuum breathing to get protected from the hazardous climate. Still, air in the vacuum is recirculated and, unlike our home, where we may find the liberty to do whatever we like, the vacuum chambers are pretty narrow with little space. There's limited opportunity for astronauts to wash and clean up. And the human immune system cannot quickly adapt to Mars environs, so crew members that will go on a mission are isolated for a few weeks before takeoff. From all the stated scary activities experienced by astronauts who had traveled to space and then Mars, we can clearly say that Mars is not entirely risk-free, and the journey will be another scary nightmare to witness. And don't be frightened if we say that for now, dying is easy living on Mars, because if everyone travels to Mars today, many people might not survive on the Mars suit due to lung failure, especially in aged people, and funny enough, certain medical conditions are not treatable on Mars. More critical factors that could affect the human livelihood on Mars, like reaction on the skin as a result of climate change, difficulty in breathing with the oxygen mask, shelter and civilized development, implementation of laws that will be abiding by as it is on Earth, and transportation. Human survival on Mars requires always living in an artificial Mars suit and equipment, with complex life support systems, which restrict human freedom of movement. For now, scientists are still researching how prolonged the rate of deterioration of equipment in Mars environs. Considering all life threats and hazards analyzed to be dangerous to human health on Mars, If the Starship is really to be launched to Mars now, will you want to join crew members on their journey to Mars? Please do well to share your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, please like, share, subscribe, and while you're still around, why don't you click on one of those flashing videos on the screen for more content?